They want to make a deal. The reason they want to make a deal is they have been just beat to.
Yeah, that's not remotely true. The Iranians are not even in the negotiations. He's shadow boxing with himself, mumbling in a crowd, oh, they want a deal, they don't want a deal, they want a deal. There's no one else in the room. We're gonna tell you the facts about it in a minute, and then we're gonna tell you the latest that he said just before we went live on the show. And then we're gonna tell you what's actually going to happen, which is the opposite of what he said. So, Jordan, take it away.
While the Pentagon prepares to put American troops on Iranian soil, President Donald Trump is claiming that Iran is desperate to negotiate with the US. The Iranian negotiators are very different and, quote, strange. They are begging us to make a deal, which they should be doing since they have been militarily obliterated with zero chance of a comeback. And yet they publicly state that they are only looking at our proposal. Wrong. They better get serious soon before it is too late. Because once that happens, there is no turning back and it won't be pretty. President DJT. And here's more from that Trump cabinet meeting.
The Iranian regime is now admitting to itself that they have been decisively defeated. They're saying to people, this is a disaster. They know it. That's why they're talking to us. They wouldn't talk otherwise. But they're talking to us because they've got a disaster in their hands. They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know that. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators. And they are begging to work out a deal. I don't know if we'll be able to do that. I don't know if we're willing to do that. I'm the opposite of desperate. I don't care. I want to know. In fact, we have other targets we want to hit before we leave.
Trump also admitted that he believed oil prices would spike higher and the stock market would plunge lower. He also claimed that taking control of Iran's oil is an option. According to the Wall Street Journal, Trump is the one who is looking for a way out. President Trump has told associates in recent days that he wants to avoid a protracted war in Iran and that he hopes to bring the conflict to an end in the coming weeks. White House officials planned a mid-May summit with Chinese leader Xi Jinping in Beijing with the expectation that the war would be concluded before the meeting begins, some of the people said. Trump's inner circle is reportedly split. Some want to get the war wrapped up. Others are hoping for more destruction. People close to the president cautioned that it is often difficult to predict what decisions Trump might make about the war, noting that as the conflict has unfolded, he has vacillated behind the scenes between embracing diplomacy and ramping up strikes. Some people close to Trump are urging him to go harder, saying regime change in Iran could be legacy defining. Now let's check in on Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Here's a clip from yesterday's Christian prayer and worship service.
Almighty God, who trains our hands for war and our fingers for battle, you who stirred the nations from the north against Babylon of old, making her land a desolation where none dwell. Behold now the wicked who rise against your justice and the peace of the righteous. Snap the rod of the oppressor, frustrate the wicked plans, and break the teeth of the ungodly. By the blast of your anger, let the evil perish. Let their bulls go down to slaughter, for their day has come. Grant this task force clear and righteous targets for violence. Surround them as a shield, protect the innocent and blameless in their midst. Make their arrows like those of a skilled warrior who returned not empty-handed. Let every round find its mark against the enemies of righteousness and our great nation. Give them wisdom in every decision, endurance for the trial ahead, unbreakable unity, and overwhelming violence of action against those who deserve no mercy.
And today, Hegseth stated that the problem with the war was that it ended too quickly. Take a look.
In 2007, I helped lead the surge, the public fight for the Iraq surge. Stood and watched people stand in the Senate and declare the war is lost before it even started. Who was that? It was Harry Reid. That was the Democrats and the media working hand in glove. Back then, it was 3 years into a war. Now we're 3 weeks into an operation. But see, unlike Iraq, this isn't a tie. This is not parity. This is not chaos. This is success, pure American success, on plan, and as the president said, ahead of pace.
According to Axios reporter Barak Ravid, Hegseth's Pentagon is preparing for 4 different scenarios for a quote-unquote final blow that apparently are intended to end the war. First, invading or blocking Karg Island, Iran's main oil export hub. 2, invading Iraq, an island that helps Iran solidify its control of the Strait of Hormuz. 3, seizing the strategic island of Abu Musa and 2 smaller islands. And 4, blocking or seizing ships that are exporting Iranian oil on the eastern side of the Hormuz Strait. And here's another bleak sign of what's to come. This is from friend of the show, Ryan Grimm. Israeli media reporting that Netanyahu expects a ceasefire announcement from Trump this Saturday. Translation, ground invasion coming this weekend. However, Ken Klippenstein, enemy of the show, is reporting that a ground invasion is not imminent and not even inevitable. Military sources tell me that for weeks, the Pentagon has exaggerated the readiness and potency of the Marines, setting in motion a media frenzy that is part stupidity, part disinformation to spook Tehran, and part manipulation to please Donald Trump. On March 13th, headlines blared that the 3-ship USS Tripoli Amphibious Ready Group, carrying the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, was ordered from Japan to the Middle East. In actuality, one of the 3 ships, the USS San Diego, never left Japan and is still there. And the other 2 ships, carrying just 1,500 fighters, are sitting at Diego Garcia, roughly 4,200 kilometers from Iran's coastline. And that 2nd Marine Expeditionary Unit, contrary to some reporting that said that the USS Fox left Hawaii on March 19th, it departed San Diego. It will have to cover approximately 22,000 kilometers to reach the region and wouldn't be able to arrive until mid-April at the earliest.
Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back.
Now, Cenk, there is a lot here. What do you make of this?
Yeah, so look, something just came out right before the show began that adds to the mystery here. I'd be surprised if Ken's sources weren't wrong or potentially lying to him on purpose, but maybe he's right. That's the only thing that gives me pause because Ken's a really great reporter. So now, for what came out before the show, Donald Trump saying that there's going to be a 10-day pause of bombing their energy plants. Okay, so that means either Ken is right or Ryan Grimm is right, right? Ken is right if there really is a pause, and that's because we're not even anywhere near ready to go, and that Trump has basically been bluffing all along about how the ground troops are almost there. Or Ryan Grimm is right if they say that they're doing a 10-day pause, that means they're bombing tomorrow. Okay, so where do I come out on that? I follow the history of what we have done in American foreign policy and Donald Trump's direct history and what he normally does. So based on that, and I don't know exactly where the troops are. I don't know if Ken's sources are right that they're just not in position to attack. But if they're in anywhere near in position to attack, everybody's assuming it'll be on Saturday, despite Donald Trump saying, "Oh, we're not going to do it at all, and we're waiting for a 10-day pause." And remember, Every right winger, every Republican has said from day one to right now, there's not going to be any ground troops. Don't be ridiculous. Donald Trump is all for easy wars. We get easy wins, baby. We murder them and then we take everything and everything is easy, right? So if he puts in ground troops, that is a massive, massive violation of what they said. And we'll see. I mean, that's the very, very last straw. And I'm positive that a lot of his voters who've already abandoned him will continue to abandon him at a great pace. The independents, some portion of MAGA. There'll be a bigger chunk out of MAGA once he puts in the ground troops. And I'm sure that there'll be a significant percentage of MAGAs like, we wanted ground troops. That's why we wanted to defeat Kamala Harris, the Democrats, because we're more pro-war than Dick Cheney, right? So that'll happen. I got you. But my sense of it is that they're not going to attack on Saturday, that Donald Trump says the 10-day pause thing because they're attacking tomorrow. Now, normally they don't attack when the markets are open, like a major offensive, either invading in the first place, bombing in the first place, or the ground troops, right? But since everybody's used to that, Donald Trump might think, I'm so clever. I tell him a 10-day pause, that we're negotiating with a ghost, and then we trick the ghost, and then we go in tomorrow. No one expected it. Well, I kind of expect it. So let's see how it turns out. So Pete Hegseth, you saw there, the warmonger, bloodthirsty religious radical. And you remember that part of the reason for this war is, now remember, they're religious fundamentalists. And if you're a religious fundamentalist, you're cuckoo. And it can't be trusted. If they have even the smallest little nuke that could kill a couple of ants, they're gonna do it. They're crazy radical religion. And then Hegseth comes out and he's like, and God says, smash them in the mouth, break all their teeth, eat their children. I see a religious radical. I also see tons of religious radicals in Israel. But so I don't know which religious radical they're talking about, and I know we started the war along with Israel. Okay, so finally now we get to where could they attack and the negotiations. So of course I don't know which of the islands or the mainland they're gonna attack, but my sense of it is, first of all, the Israelis leaked to Barak Ravid leak. I mean, they kind of work in tandem, right? So if he's putting those four out, number one, the target might not be one of those four. And the whole point is disinformation towards Iran, right? The second thing is, it's possible that it's one of those four. And if I had to guess, I would guess that we're going to target anything that reopens the Strait of Hormuz. So if it's not about the Strait of Hormuz, it's less likely. And they might be talking about Karg Island over and over again, because they're not going to Karg Island, they're going to try to recapture the Strait of Hormuz, which would be the logical thing to do, although Trump not known for great logical reasoning abilities. But in this case, anything related to the Strait is way more likely. That's just kind of obvious. All right, and then finally, are we actually negotiating with the Iranians? So the reason that Donald Trump said, they're just saying that they're looking at our proposal, wrong, because that's exactly what they're doing. So they said, look, are we not merciful? We're not gonna negotiate with you. We're not gonna send anyone to negotiate with you. We're not interested in a ceasefire, but go ahead. If you have a proposal, send it over and we'll look at it. But no, we're not sending anybody to negotiate. And Trump goes, that's wrong. They have mythical, invisible people like our invisible jets. The invisible people show up and we negotiate. And they're very crafty negotiators, strange. They're very strange. This is very new. I'm not used to invisible negotiators. But Jared and Witkoff told me, and the Israelis told me that they are there. They are there, so I believe that they are, and they're about to surrender. Netanyahu told me. He said, go deeper into the war because they're about to surrender. So I'm sure it's true. So as you can tell, Jordan, I think only disaster awaits.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing reports out of the Middle East that Iran is assembling and deploying nearly 1 million troops in preparation for a ground invasion. I mean, that is going to be, if the US were to continue, a bloodbath for both sides. That's not going to end well for anybody. I think, there might be something to Ken's reporting. I think the US might want to avoid that. That is a PR nightmare for a president. It's easier to wage forever war when you're conducting aerial strikes. You're going in boots on the ground, and then you have, sons and daughters coming back in flag draped caskets That's less palatable to the American populace. And this is already an unpopular war. It's already causing dissent in the MAGA base. I don't know. I think there might be something to his reporting. But then on the other side, I want to get your thoughts on some of these other things. There's a video from the White House and also maybe a Freudian slip from Trump. So take a look at this and let's get your thoughts.
They were planning to have a nuclear weapon. If we didn't hit them at that time with the B-2 bombers, and one of the great air raids in history, maybe the greatest.
It's launching soon, right?
And then additionally, there was another video that the White House posted last night and then deleted of someone filming their shoes and a woman's voice saying, "Will it be launched soon?" Or is it launching soon? All of these things together, Cenk, I can't tell if it's just them ruffling their feathers or trolling or trying to scare the Iranians. What do you make of this?
Yeah, so you got a Freudian slip there on nuking Iran, but he was just talking about their nuclear capabilities, so it was probably just a slip up. I am worried in the long run if things go very poorly for Israel. I think that they are the country by far most likely to use nukes. More than everyone else combined. They think their citizens are worth $1 billion any other human beings. So if they start running out of defensive missiles, I'd be very worried about Israel using a nuke. Us using a nuke, I mean, that's unthinkable. If Trump did that, he would go down as like Hitler, Stalin level character in history. So whereas if Netanyahu did it, that would be on brand. Okay, but we're not there yet, guys. So I wouldn't worry about that. In terms of the launching or not launching and that kind of stuff, well, with the videos, yeah, they're jackasses. So they also put out some tweet today from the White House with Trump at what looks like the Resolute desk, and it's pixelated so you can't see it. Like, we're trolling you. What's he up to? Hey, guys, this isn't time for trolling. There's Americans coming home in caskets. So we're not interested in your dumbass trolling, and no one cares, no one's amused by it, and no one is threatened by it. Look, guys, I watched the Iranians, they put out videos, their commanders, their political leaders, and every single video is like, please come and land your troops on the ground, please. We welcome you, we are waiting for you, okay? Constantly talking about Donald Trump. The battle is not won with tweets, it is won on the battlefield. And so the idea that the Iranians are gonna be scared by some trolling video is just dumb. And is the target audience us? Or should we be worried about a launch? Should we be excited about a launch? I don't know what the point of that is, right? So, but bottom line is, back to Ken's reporting, look, it's the only thing that's pumping the brakes right now, because but I would be shocked, Jordan. I already said it a while back, and I'm not moving off of it. Ground troops are going in. The only question is when. And by the way, maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe Israel has ordered us to use ground troops, and we will bravely defy our tiny little partner who owns our ass, okay? But in my experience of covering politics for 30 years in America, I can name you one time we've defied Israel. And hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times where we have done exactly as we are ordered. It would be shocking beyond belief if we didn't use ground troops.
Yeah, we will see. We'll watch closely over the weekend. I hope not. The last thing we need is more escalation here.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.